I'm just going to do a quick test of screen share. Yep. Okay. Hey, good evening, everyone. I will get started. I appreciate your being here and being here on time, so I certainly want to uh, honor that. We are recording, so I probably asked you if that was okay when you came in. Again, we will share this online. My plan for tonight will be to do some opening remarks. I've got some slides and other information, both text and image. Then I'll do Q&A. I will do more of summarizing some of the questions as I answer them because I watched the video from last time. It's always slightly painful to watch oneself in video. And I realized that if you weren't also following along in the chat, it was maybe a little hard to understand when I was answering questions too. So I will try to make that a little bit clearer. May take a few more pauses to get it. The questions or answer some of the grouped ones. So in any case, um, we'll get started. I will be focusing on some of the areas include facilities, academic courses, student activities, as well as some of the upcoming things around billing, as well as the break that's coming up. So that will be the general order of categories, but certainly can take questions on other things as well. Some of the focus will be on things where we've had changes and I hope progress since the last time we Zoomed, which was about 5 or 6 weeks ago. Um, we have since that time had both a family weekend as well as an admissions open house. So, and a number of things have happened in terms of kind of the look of some of the things and some of the offerings we have. It also is that time of the year where we're actually really starting to think a lot about the spring semester and those courses and other offerings. So with that, I will go into the share. Um, and we will get that going. Oh, actually, that just stopped. Let me try that again. Oh, here it is. Okay. Are we seeing kind of in what looks like a full-size slide? Is that
Yes,
okay?
thank you.
Um, actually, if you can, I'm gonna move this over so that I can see. All right, so this is our information session here in the month of November, on November 18th. And I am still me, John Weinstein, Provost. Very happy and honored to work with your students and yourselves for their education. So thank you for entrusting them to us at Bard Academy and Simon's Rock at Bard College. Um, this is the same list as I had presented before. It is on our, if you go to still the old Simon's Rock website, we're about to transition over to the sr.bard.edu one. But this still, if you go to the contact page and contact us, it will give you this same information. I will also send this out when I send out the recording again. So again, the best way to reach me through the executive office is that 752-5600 number, which will get the amazing Danielle or myself. And you can connect or leave messages, and those are our emails. For student affairs, Sarah Liddell Montgomery and Maria Arias. If you're looking at something where you want an answer now, the best way to do that is to always do this community director on call by calling the campus safety number, which is 758, so the 8, not the 2, 7460, to get a message and have the community director then get in touch with you. That's our 24/7 service. Though the rest of us are certainly happy to respond if it is during time when we're in the office. I'm over in the academic affairs side. Dean Brendan Matthews, as well as he's assisted by Mark Hopkins and Kate Glavin. While Kate has been on maternity leave, um, with her wonderful new daughter. Kate will actually be back full-time December 1st, so soon the maternity leave will be going away when we come back from the Thanksgiving break. And our wellness center, we have our nurse, Sheila Lewis. I meant to get a photo for space because she said, my space looks so great now. Do you want to show them? I said, yes, I do. And then I didn't take the photo before the end of the day. So that'll have to wait till next time. And not that we want students to have to, need to go to the nurse, but should they do, we've got a great space to welcome them there, as well as our wellness counselor, Tong Tong. So that has not changed, but I will keep sending that out, and you can access that from the Contact Us spot on the Simon's Rock website. Um, so in terms of facilities updates, first the exciting world of heat and hot water. So it is now the time of the year when the radiators are mostly on. I realized the one in my office was not seeming to do anything, and then I realized I hadn't opened it. So we are making sure those all get opened. In the seminary building, it can be very hot when those go on, but we have two different times of day when the radiators are going. So we're working with the students on this piece. If something isn't working with their one in their room, we do have space heaters we can use while we're getting that fixed. Though things now are pretty warm in that space. Um, we'd had some issues with this in the mansion, though my understanding is the most recent kind of updates have helped in that regard, but we're certainly checking that on a regular basis. The hot water piece had been more a mansion issue than a issue in the seminar building. I've done a lot of checking, so my arm gets very wet because I go at various times in the day to check the showers. I would say that five of the seven student showers in the mansion do have hot water. The one floor wing, I've gotten hot water there, but that one seems to be the shaky piece. So we're working on that. But with the number of students in the building, it's a good ratio. I am reminding the students, you do need to let the water run for a few minutes sometimes. Certainly, like 1 minute often takes care of it. That is kind of a key piece. We're going to be working on upgrading the tank so we can have as much hot water as at one time, but everyone showering at the same time will probably always be a little bit of a challenge. But we certainly check that on a regular basis and working on those pieces. In terms of information about lead, while the lead level that caused the whole issue with the lead notification was just barely above the legal limit and primarily in legacy sinks that we weren't using, we are now very wonderfully monitored by the state. So you can be assured that we will have the most checked water of just about anywhere. We do have these posters that I have the example up here, which are posted throughout the building. So that can give further information for students. And I can also send this out. Something that I do want to note that none of the lead issues ever affected any of the dining or the facilities where that was happening. So that is a question that had come up. That areas actually never had a lead testing issue. It was primarily sinks, fixtures that weren't being used. But we do have those posters up, which are up around the space. So those are some pieces in that regard. In terms of dining and vending, I will show a bit of some of the examples of what we're able to do. I've gotten questions around what's available for the different meals. So I'll show kind of a sample lunch in a moment, which I do think what we're offering for lunch at Messina is quite plentiful for the lunch meal. Again, I think with the students having dinner on the main campus, the Klein facility has a very wide array of things that can meet all sorts of needs. We do now have two vending machines at Messina. Depends on how you feel about the kinds of snacks that come from vending machines. But students seem to like things like chips and candy bars and soda. So that is available from a vending machine in space that's accessible to both college and academy students. Been working on gym and exercise equipment. I had a plan to get some exercise equipment from Messina, and the student I was working with said they don't really like the place I'm looking to put it. So we're going to keep working on that. It may be that we just want to do more access to the main campus gym. So that's a piece we're working on, but that's certainly a question. This affects academy students more than college, since college students can use the Stevenson gym on main campus whenever they wish. We do need to do escorted trips for academy students. So it may be about just increasing that number. That may be more what students prefer. In terms of our gymnasium space, certainly hear the basketball going in the late afternoon every day. The new basketball club is meeting Tuesdays and Thursdays in our Messina gym. We also have ping pong tables in there. Pool table will be on its way. So that's some updates there. I would say the biggest change, if you haven't been in the space recently, so even if you were here for family weekend, is the library. We did do the library move, which did take some time just to get scheduled and ready, but the books are all where they need to be. They're also all cataloged as they need to be, which is an important piece. And I will show some photos of that. We have the 6 computer stations in the library. We also have the 8 computer stations kind of forming a computer lab that's within Bowen Hall. And those are available all the time. We are doing some extending of library hours, which will make the library ones available as well. I don't see a ton of students using computer lab computers. I haven't seen that kind of for quite some time because most students use their own device. But just let it, want to show we've got 14 computers out for student use beyond their own devices if that's what they wish to do. And one that will be coming soon in terms of the world of music. We are in the process of the move of pianos from our pianos in Great Barrington campus. So we plan to move most likely 5 pianos over to both the mansion and the East Wing. So there will be lots of opportunities if students want that um, as either for piano practice or if they'd like to have a piano to help them practice instrument. So we will be well served in that regard. I think that will probably be more a December thing. So maybe by the January, maybe when those become fully available. But the pianos are definitely on their way, which will help us with some new music offerings we're having as well. So those are some of the updates in terms of the facilities pieces. I do want to show some further images. So again, I wanted to get a sense of what it's like. So I tried to pick a fairly random day at lunch. I do have some other options that I could show of this. So in any given day, there's I would say in terms of the kind of hot food stations, so up on the right, there will be whatever the kind of entree items are. Usually that's a combination of carnivorous and vegetarian items. So that this day was the hamburgers and garden burgers. I will say I did enjoy the tater tots that day. It's usually something more like rice, but I did enjoy that, and I appreciated the lettuce and tomatoes and to make a very hearty burger. Something that's generally always available as an option will be the pasta bar, so you can see that up here. So that's always an option. And then most days we have pizza on the pizza station. Sometimes there's a different hot item there, but there are usually kind of 3 different categories of the hot food available. If students want more of a cold option, we've got the salad bar, which is available every day, which has a variety of fresh vegetables and some dressings. And then there's also kind of the cold sandwich bar, which will have some of the other kind of heartier salad items, as well as things that students want to make a sandwich, also hard-boiled eggs, other different protein options. So I didn't get a photo of the beverages, but we also have a range of beverages that are available at all times. For dessert, there's always something in the dessert station, usually in the cookie or cake or pie zone. And we do now have the ice cream freezer moved over, and I was able to get an action photo of a student serving themselves ice cream. So my opinion is certainly for lunch, this is a very good range of options. It arguably could be a good range of options for dinner, but I don't need to make that argument because there's many more options in this at the dining facility that the students go to on main campus, either independently if they're a college student or with the chaperone group if they're an academy student. So this is the kind of range of things we have. Certainly, if you have questions around dining or offerings, happy to address those. And if there's things students are really interested in seeing, our dining staff certainly tries to be responsive, or things that they particularly liked. That's also useful to mention. So that's what things tend to look like around lunch in terms of that aspect of facilities. And then in the library side of things, you can see the library now has books, which definitely looks way better. In terms of the usage of this, for the college students, they're still going to be using the Stevenson Library Collection as their primary research area, but this does certainly serve a lot of particularly introductory course research needs and serves the need of academy students kind of supporting a high school curriculum. So that's available. It's also where students have the reserve readings for courses. That would be kind of in the where I was standing for the picture. Behind me would be the circulation desk with the reserve items. Again, you can see some of the computer lab spots. A very popular usage of the library, as it was in Great Barrington, which that the gray couches you'll see up on the right. There is a table there that always has a puzzle in progress. That certainly was a popular item, and that's by intent. I mean, for us, the library is as much a both more academic and academically related or social space to hang out and be. So we're glad to have it sort of more populated with books, though it's been quite well populated with humans, really since the start of the year. I do note in December we're going to start to roll out some evening library time now that the library is more full. So again, that will also offer another study option, especially as it's kind of getting colder. At any given time, the Bawin Hall, again, which is where the other computer lab space is open really all the time. And there's a number of other study areas and nooks and tables out on the second floor. The classrooms are also available all the time when there are not classes in session. Students are often using classrooms, just as a study space or hangout spot, which is totally fine as well. That's part of the kind of purpose of our configuration. Another room that's really popular is a room that I'd originally envisioned, I will admit, as more of a kind of faculty and staff meeting space, but students populated it early on, which is great. So sometimes there's a meeting and we need to say, hey, we need to use this. But certainly when I leave my office every day in the sort of 6, 7 range, there are always students in this space studying. It now, and this may be most appealing if I have any Simons Rock alums among the parents, the Simons Rock theses. Please don't come and steal them. This is the collection of theses, and it actually forms a chronological timeline from 2025 back to this back corner is 1976. So, and I've put some memorabilia from the different eras kind of under those. And then the books and dishes in the far side is the family collection of Elizabeth Blodgett Hall, our founder. I had sent the message around Founders Day. So those are some of the Blodgett family memorabilia that have been part of the Simons Rock collection. And then actually a model of the College Center building from the Great Barrington campus is under the dome there, which was a wonderful artifact that we have. So this is kind of becoming the space for Simons Rock history. It's really where we celebrate Simons Rock's past. And then the other spaces, our decor will go more toward the present and the future. That's also a beautiful study option. So lots of different places to study and be. And I think we had things looking pretty good for family weekend. I will say now I feel like, oh wow, this looks like way better. So certainly invite you to come take a look. Moving into kind of the academic area, whereas I get the fewest questions, but I think it's because maybe people feel the most satisfied, which is certainly good. The course guide for the college courses will either come out at the end of this week or early next week. So in either case, that should be that to me is if you're looking for conversation around the Thanksgiving dinner table, which I know can be tricky in families, asking about the courses. What courses are you interested in? Maybe looking at that together. Some of the different options can be a fun thing to look at. The Simons Rock and Bard course guides will be integrated together, so we will be a specific tab on the larger Bard course guide. Something that is different in the spring, our first year college students, if they meet certain GPA and credit successes from the first semester, they can take one elective on main campus if they wish. They don't have to, but that's certainly a possibility. So there is a lot more college catalog kind of to look at than there was. Our sophomores continue to take roughly the half and half split loads. So that's the college pieces. For academy folks, I'll need to give you a different Thanksgiving topic because that kind will come out when we come back from Thanksgiving break. So that's when the academy courses will be available for viewing. This is the same timing or a hair earlier, actually, than what we had in Great Barrington. I will say every year I've been provost around this time, people always tell me the course guide is coming out late. It's actually come out at the same time every time, but I know that we're eager to see what those things are. Just some of the new things that we're offering in the spring that we didn't have in the fall. We're really excited to offer, in addition to the music ensembles that are on main campus, we're going to do a jazz ensemble on the Messina campus. Our longtime music faculty member in Great Barrington, like 40 plus years, John Myers, is coming over to do jazz ensemble, which is really exciting. We've got a new sculpture class happening we had two-dimensional photography and drawing and studio art, but we're moving into 3 dimensions in the spring. I'm going to be collaborating with my colleague, Sophia Wong, to do Chinese theater performance. So Chinese speakers out there, whether you're in the beginning of Academy Chinese or you're a native speaker, we bring everyone together and do a performance in Chinese and many other cool things. So there's a lot of exciting things that are to be coming, and you'll see that in the next week or so. Students will start to meet with their advisors in terms of doing their course selection. Something that will be different in a better way than what we had the first time around was the students who are registering for Bard campus courses will register at exactly the same time as all Bard students do for this. It'll actually be one process for all of the courses. So I know that caused a little bit of challenge in the first semester, but I think we've got that ironed out for the spring. So that's some of the pieces coming up in terms of the academic areas. Clubs and activities, that was a big one last time. I do feel like we've made progress. There's still things we're working on, but I personally, at least, am in a less frustrated zone than I was the last time we all Zoomed together. We had a really productive meeting between representatives from Simon's Rock student body and the head of student government and student activities and main campus, and kind of figured out, as you often do when you finally do just a meeting together, you're not that different from each other. So they kind of broke down a lot of barriers, and it gives us some, some kind of some context because there's still cases, the world of clubs on main campus is very nebulous and very decentralized. So students have a lot of authority over creating their clubs, which I appreciate. At Simon's Rock, we're also about students having a lot of authority over things. But that does mean that sometimes with authority, people make choices that you might not like. So the day after we had this amazing meeting with the student government where we worked out all these things, a club sent out a message that had this lovely thing that said how they really wanted everyone on campus to come, and then it said no one from Simon's Rock is permitted. But we at least now had someone to send this to and say, hey, you're the head of student clubs at Bard. Can you reach out to this club and help get them on message and help them understand? So we're getting there. I mean, it's going to keep being an evolution, but I really do think we've made a lot of progress since the last time we all talked about it. Um, I guess I jumped a little bit ahead to updates on main campus clubs and activities. So that's kind of where that one is. Then we've also figured out ways in which if Simon's Rock students are participating in main campus clubs, we have our own student activities fund that our student government will be giving out. So it's useful to have Simon's Rock students in your club. You might have another funding source, but certainly, and we also want to show that we're certainly ready to participate and support it. I will note that Bard main campus students and Simon's Rock College students are charged the identical activities fee. So a lot of the financial discussion was sort of nonsense, like it's the same services and so forth. Jumping back up to Messina campus clubs and activities, we do have an array of clubs that are happening on main campus. On Messina campus, we've got a trail club that's making trails. We've got the basketball club that's just started. We've got a Bible study club. We've got a newspaper. The first issue will be coming out in December. A lot of different activities happening. We'll be really able to jump ahead on these tomorrow when we have our club fair that our first year experience students, who are the first year college students, take a course on kind of community life called First Year Experience. They are hosting a club fair. So please encourage all of the students to attend that from 2 to 3:30 tomorrow, whether they're running a club or want to explore a club. That's where we're really going to be able to push ahead our Messina campus clubs and activities. Academy students can join any of those clubs on the Messina campus. So that's a piece there. We've also been really trying to offer a number of activities on a regular basis for Academy students. We offered a few different options for Halloween. This past weekend, Friday, we had 4 different shopping trips if they wanted to go into Red Hook to different places to go shopping. This evening, I'm glad the timing worked out. My colleague Chris Coggins and I took a group of Academy students to an event in Rhinebeck at the Upstate Films, where Jonathan Becker, who's the executive vice president at Bard and vice president of academic affairs, and his co-author Yael Bromberg were releasing their new book on student voting rights and showing really exciting films around work that Bard has done to increase voting among college students. Jonathan explicitly told me, he called and said, I want Academy students to come to this. I said, okay. He's like, they're explicitly invited. So we got a group of Academy students. I was parking the car when Chris brought them in, but apparently Jonathan's greeting was very warm and he bought them all popcorn. So while the students definitely got to learn a ton about voting rights, I know that I learned a ton. I suspect if your child is one of the ones who went, the thing they'll most talk about was the free popcorn that the guy bought them. Which is great too. I mean, I think Jonathan wanted them to feel very welcome, and I guess he knew the way to young people's hearts. So that was really fun. We're trying to offer more of those, and also more field trips in the academy classes, again, to help get them off campus. We had Chris and I actually did one of those the other week as well. So that's things in the clubs and activities. Certainly still a continued work in progress, I think is a fair statement, but I think we're making a lot of progress on it. And again, if a student wants any help, they have a club idea, we're also always happy to help and support them. But again, that club fair tomorrow at 2 p.m. Is a key event that everyone should be attending. We have kind of an interim student government that's functioning with the students who were elected to speak at the board meeting back in October, and they've been kind of leading the plan. They've come up with a somewhat different structure for government, student government, than what we had in Great Barrington. They felt this new structure would be more useful for the size of our student body. So we're going to be doing elections in December, and then the kind of interim government will move into the official government that will student government that will carry us for the rest of the year. So those are some of the updates there. In terms of the again, club fair, there's the sign for that. We have many signs for this around. So I'm going to be plugging that event all day long. Any student I see, they'll be like, yes, John, we know there's a club fair. This is we've added this bulletin board. These posters also appear in various places around the stairwells and so forth. But this bulletin board that's down in the first floor right by the elevator, we sort of encourage everyone to make sure they get one of their flyers up there so that we've got kind of a comprehensive place to look. So we're encouraging that as well, and that's the place where students can really look to see what are some of the things that are meeting. So those are some of the steps there. We also we did have our week of social justice that always traditionally happens in October. We've been figuring out how to use different spaces. We did a lunchtime speaker event, which actually I think worked really well. It was kind of fun to see the dining space totally full and everyone engaged in what the speaker was doing. And also, it's actually the space with the largest capacity in the building. So this event was required for Academy students and first-year college students, was optional for second-year college students. We were excited to have Victoria Ferris, who had spoken to us 2 years ago in Great Barrington, come back and do her work on what social justice means in these times for her and for our community. So that was another kind of all-campus event that was really great to have. So some other pieces, and I'd sent this out to Academy families, but I want to highlight it. So Academy students receive notifications, which can be either things from leadership around academics or or social matters, or where students can advertise clubs and events at the Academy at sr.bard.edu list. Now, I know that Academy students may sometimes need a little bit of extra help and nudge in noticing these things. I know, again, the Academy students will say they don't have events to go to, and while we're certainly trying to, always add and meet the want to just opt in by sending me an email, I can add your list and you can see what your students are seeing. College students get their notification on the early college at sr.bard.edu list, which is our list for students in the AA program. I didn't do an opt-in for families on this list. And my reason for this is for us, this scaffolding of independence is a key part of the Simon's Rock model. So we will send out to parents, like you may have seen some of the notes about Thanksgiving break, or I will send something out around, billing or so forth. But things where if the student doesn't see it right away, the consequence is not so great. We want them to really practice this piece. Again, I might send something out that says registration's happening, but I'm not going to send you the course guide link. The college student needs to do that themselves, but you're welcome to ask them about that or say, like, what are any exciting things coming in over email or not exciting things? So I feel pretty strongly that this is something where the additional support for Academy students can make sense. And this is really a family conversation. Again, if the parent opts in, I'm going to put you on the list. If your child's mad at me, we'll work on that. But for college, we need to move toward the students doing this themselves. It's part of what we're doing. But again, if you feel like your child is struggling to connect to some of these kinds of things, we can certainly help them do that or set up some plans for, okay, how do you actually set up a time to check your email, even if you associate it with the elderly, AKA John. So these are some things we're working on with the college students. Something I do just want to note, which doesn't actually connect to this, but it does in that it goes to student engagement. If you feel like your child or student needs more kind of engagement or structure, a campus job can be a great way to do that, even if it's just a few hours a week. We created a lot of space and budget and jobs because we knew that student employment is a key financial piece for a lot of students and families. But even if it's not, it's also a really good just structural piece. And it can be a way to, if you're working at the front desk or in the library, one of the spaces there, like it gives some structured interaction. So that could be another pathway to connecting if that's something that you want to help your child with, and they make some money, which usually nobody minds, right? So that's another, could be another way in. Um, Not everyone's favorite topic, but an important topic that I would be remiss in not noting. Um, so spring bills are posted on students' accounts and you can pay through Transact, which hopefully now that we're in the second semester, that's more set up. I know it was very challenging to get all these set up during the summer. So I'm hoping we're in a kind of a better spot on that. In all of the different payment plans, the first spring payment is due November 20th, which is this Thursday. There are different payment options. If you opt for no payment option, then the default is full, which is paying half the bill on November 20th, half the bill on December 20th. If you'd like to do it spread out over more payments, there are two different payment plan options. You do need to sign up for this to have it. If you already were on a payment plan for this semester that we're currently in, that carries into the spring. So if you were on the five payment plan this fall, you're on that five payment plan for the spring, and that November 20th payment will be that first fifth of the bill. But there are both 3 and 5 month options. Um, if a bill is being adjusted, sometimes something's different, or someone has a change in status in some way, or shifts around insurance or something, the payment is still due on the current bill, but the change will be reflected in subsequent payments. But we do need to pay what's currently posted. There are finance charges for late payments. A lot of that was kind of waived as we were coming in the fall because they knew that it was tough for people to get settled in, and we were doing a lot of transitions. And I appreciated the generosity from Bard in reversing a lot of those late payments. But we've now kind of been around longer. So I just wanted to note again, everyone has something they have to pay for November 20th. It's just depending on the portion of your bill will depend on what you signed up for. But again, if you want to do the payment plan, you can still sign up for that, but it is an active step you have to take. Um, and certainly myself or those in student financial services can help if there are questions throughout this process. And the last thing I wanted to just kind of go over that's coming up. So Thanksgiving break, November 22nd to 30th. Students do need to inform us if they're planning to stay, and they do need to be approved. If you just kind of hang out in your room and hope nobody notices, when we discover that, there is a $250 fine. The reason is we really need to know who's here because we're planning things like meal service, like awareness around safety and people being on duty. We do have the CD on duty 24/7, but we still want to know how many people we're dealing with and also where people are living and so forth. The meals that are offered during break is generally it's once per day and it's going to be more of a grab and go format. So you will want to do some supplementing. The Bard faculty deans hold a special Thanksgiving Day lunch, which they have invited our students to, which we appreciate. It's going to be quite a large group from what I understand. So that's what's available on Thanksgiving Day. But services overall are limited during the break. There are things happening on campus, but it's not as plentiful as during the usual time of the year. In terms of the classes, both Bard Academy and the early college classes at Simon's Rock are not held during break. This is our one divergence from the overall Bard College calendar. We do think that a fuller break at this time of year is sort of helpful for students as they might need a little bit of time to catch up, either on work and or sleep. Also, for those who are traveling, we like you to have that full week. Main campus Bard classes do happen. One of the major ways in which students have been approved to stay, and in those cases often get with the fee waiver, was if their main campus classes are still meeting, but you do need to tell us again if that's the case. For the students who are not staying for break, you should depart campus by Saturday, November 22nd at noon. That's when we expect the dorms to kind of close for students who are not staying, and then they'll reopen on November 30th. Again, there is a $200 break fee, but students can apply for a fee waiver if that's a challenge for them or if there are circumstances around the break piece. So that's what's coming up. I certainly hope that I'm glad that travel seems to have resumed a little more normally. I know that travel at Thanksgiving is always a challenge, and I do hope that having the longer break is a helpful piece in this regard. So I believe that is what I had in terms of the sharing. I see that the chat has some items in there, so I will start to look at those, and I will try to give at least some piece about what I'm asking about. Um, a question around fine art abilities. So we have been doing the drawing class, and we're still sort of working on the spaces outside. If students have needs that they want to do outside, we can certainly set up spaces for that. We are using rooms for different purposes at different times, but actually during the drawing class that gets set up as a whole drawing space. Um, I had gotten a some questions about the food. I don't know if the sandwich meats are nitrate free, but I will ask about that. Um, in terms of the clean plate, which is the allergy free space, is there a section for them to use? I'm taking that as a section where students can sit. I guess that is a clean play space. I can certainly ask about that. Sculpture, there is both a J-term academy option and a semester college one. So sculpture is being offered at both levels. If there's anything you have a question about things around anything around changing in terms of meal plans or other things and the housing, that would be Student Financial Services would be the place to reach out to about that. But you can also check in with me to help connect on that. Um, I got a question about people not getting email announcements. Okay, and I see we got some answers for this. We did go through, and thank you, Danielle, for this. Danielle went through our Slate, which is our admissions portal, and any parent email or family email that we found in there, she added to the list. So if you're still not getting information, again, it means we're missing something there, but we can certainly get that onto the list. And also, if one family member is getting the email, but you want those emails to go to everyone, again, we can add more people to the list. So just write to me or Danielle with the email address that you want added, because we definitely want everyone getting the family lists. Um, I've gotten a question around, a further question around music where students can practice instruments in addition to piano. Um, the rooms that we're putting the pianos in, so room 252 and 272 are two of the rooms that we use for music practice. We picked those because they don't abut anything besides a bathroom. So those are good spaces for that. It's also a lot of the music lessons are happening with the conservatory faculty. So I would say room 252, 272, really anytime after 5 o'clock when classes aren't happening is fine for using those spaces. Um, Again, a question about the break timing. Um, the break for again, if it depends somewhat, and if the student is having main campus classes, but for first year college students in academy, November 22nd at noon is the checkout time, and then return is November 30th. That is on the academic calendar as well. I have a question about the Columbia Dual Degree Program. Yes, that is active. If you have questions about that, Professor Mike Bergman, who's the director of that program, is happy to talk about that, but that is very much an active question. I got a question around wanting to get the copy of the student's health insurance card or policy information. I will look into that and see how we can get that to you. Sure. I got a question about J term for the academy, which I will happily do that. So J term for the academy is the time when academy has classes. This is to fulfill sort of the longer high school year. I I am going to make sure that I say actually the correct dates. So give me a moment because I feel they're on the top of my mind, but I want to be fully accurate on this. Um, so Academy J term, which will begin on January 8th. So the Academy students who are residential return to campus on the 7th. J term classes begin on Thursday, January 8th and go through Friday, January 23rd. This is the time when students are offered, it's an array of short courses that meet over a 12-day period. These tend to be, it's kind of one of my favorite times of the year. Because as much as the Academy is always high school reimagined, it's even more reimagined in J term, and that's where we have a lot of different really unique course offerings, a lot of really hands-on courses, a lot of courses with fieldwork, even though it's winter. We've actually had winter fieldwork courses before that use the outdoors in this way. Students generally are going to be in 2 classes during J term. We also do an all academy field trip to somewhere a bit far away, a few hours away. I don't want to do the big reveal on that yet, but that happens on one of the days. Um, and so it's a really kind of fun time. It'll be, Academy students have traditionally kind of loved that they have the run of the campus themselves, and the classes are really, really varied. It's not something like the summer workshop where day students are boarding. So day students are day students during J term, and residential students are residential. So the shuttle, if people are riding the shuttle from Great Barrington, that resumes during J term as well. So I would say sometime it'll be kind of mid-December. Students will have the list of J-term courses to choose from, and they'll make their choices, and we'll try to get them into things as much as we can to their top choices. So, and it will generally follow a similar school day to the Academy school day during the regular part of the year. So that's what J term involves. Again, that's an Academy only thing. College students have the very long college break, so they will be home with all of you or wherever you're choosing to be with them. I know there is a there are I got a question about ski club. I know there are students who are trying to do that, so that seems like that's got a good chance of happening. Um, so I think that's a likely yes. We're certainly trying to support that as best we can, and we'll see how the ski season goes. I got a question about Academy students' broader access to main campus and whether family can give consent for more mobility without being accompanied by faculty or staff. Um, I don't think see that happening for main campus in terms of things like in town, like going into Red Hook or Rhinebeck or some of the transport systems and do that, and parents giving permission for that. That definitely, I think, is going to be something that we'll be able to do. We're working on finalizing some of the pieces around that. Main campus, I don't think is going to be happening that way because there are more kind of main campus concerns around having the younger students there. Town, yes, the parent with parent permission, that is something that I think we'll be able to roll out soon. Got a question about summer programs and abroad options. In terms of summer, we've t we did run our own summer camp for a number of years, but we didn't get a lot with that, so we didn't push it for the Young Writers Workshop, which is a larger Bard program, which has been in the Simons Rock campus, maybe operating at Bard next summer on either Messina or Maine. That's still being worked out. But that's not like a Simons Rock course credit program. It's a program that's been sort of associated with Simons Rock. Um, in terms of abroad, we don't have any particular summer ones. There are some Bard abroad programs that go on in the summer. We do have our Montserrat program in the spring. That's a school year abroad piece. But overall, in terms of the specific summer programming, it's not something that we are running programming in this summer. But again, there are some opportunities through Bard, particularly for the college students. Take a breather if other questions might come in. Okay, I got a question about international students if they don't have a place to go during Thanksgiving. That would be certainly where they would want to get permission to stay on campus the circumstances that may or may not qualify for a fee waiver, but they certainly should reach out. Again, that's one of the reasons there will be probably between main campus and Messina campus about 220 students staying, but they definitely need to reach out about that. Got a further question around age limitation on the main campus without supervision. Would they be allowed if they turn 16? That's certainly a question I can raise. Is there a birthday related piece to that? I can certainly inquire about that and see what an answer might be. I got a question about residential students. Can they leave belongings in their housing during Christmas break? Yes, absolutely. So they during the Thanksgiving break and the Christmas break, we're not using their room for something else. So yes, they certainly can leave their spaces in their rooms. Particularly, I mean, if the student is going to be changing rooms, if they're shifting roommates or something, we might need to figure out does the move happen right before the break or right after? But certainly, yes, they don't need to take everything with them between the semesters. Again, just while more questions might be coming in, just a few kind of time sensitive pieces. Again, one, if your child is planning to stay on campus during Thanksgiving break, please check to make sure they've let us know that so that we can do the approval process and we know who we've got. And the other piece that's sort of time sensitive is that first spring billing payment that's due November 20th. Things that are not quite as time sensitive, but are more things to do during Thanksgiving break for college. We'll be looking at Course Guide and talking about class options. It's another headline piece from this point. And of course, the club fair that is tomorrow at 2 o'clock. We will. We're getting close to the top of the hour, but we'll hang out a bit and see if any other questions come in. Certainly appreciate your joining in this. It's really helpful for me both for these kind of communications and also email communications that I may send out to know what issues are on your minds. Certainly also, if you need to reach out to me individually, you always can. Yes, a question from Chris Ann. Or is it just a thumbs up? Okay, maybe it's just a thumbs up. Thumbs ups are also appreciated. Um, Seems like in terms of the cadence, there's always something to talk about. So we'll certainly plan on doing some type of meeting in December, and that will especially probably play into some of the academy folks. I don't anticipate that's in question around health services and kind of main campus versus Messina. Um, I think that the clinics are going to remain separate. I do want to note that our medical director, Andrea Provan, who's the associate director on the main campus, is on our campus once a week and offers the same services as a nurse practitioner that she offers to students on main campus. So the range of services is maybe not as different as you may think. Um, we do have to sort of schedule the time on that, but certainly we want to keep offering as many services as we can. And I know that Andrea and Sheila are looking to see what other types of services they can offer. We were excited, for example, that we were able to do a vaccination clinic and grateful to a student who very much helped gather people to do that so we meet the threshold. So those are some of the ways in which we can keep adding services. But it is similar staffing in terms of the level, a lot of the services that we're offering. A question about campus security. The security is the same staff. So there is a Bard security guard on our campus at all times. They're usually pretty easy to see because they are generally in their security vehicle, or on and around that. So it is the same unified security system. When you're calling to get connected to the CD on call, it is through Bard security because it's all one security system. In terms of response to incidents, a security guard will respond to the incident, whether it's on Messina or Main, and for Simon's Rock students or Bard students more broadly. We do often have the CD participate as well to offer an additional level of support, but the primary responder is going to be Bard security, and it is the same security on all the parts of the campus. And just as something that's not necessarily required, but nice to have. It is wonderful that the head of security at Bard has a child who attends Simon's Rock, so we're very well connected. So following the Zoom, again, it'll take we hopefully by the end of the week, we can have the recording available. So if there's things that you missed or you want to hear again, you can certainly do that. I'll also send out in the email with that some of the key text as well if you want to view them that way. So those things will all be coming out from us. As we head into this Thanksgiving break, I certainly want to express my gratitude and to all of you for being part of the Simon's Rock family. Even though we all kind of separate from each other for Thanksgiving, I think it actually feels to me more like a family. I know that we're all kind of in two buildings and on top of each other. I actually think it's kind of helpful. I feel like when I walk from one room to another, I run into three different students and hopefully solve three different problems just in the course of walking somewhere. And I hope that the ability to find us, right, from the student standpoint is easier because we're very visible in ways that I think is really important. So I'm just really so grateful that whether you've newly joined us or you've been with us from Great Barrington, that you're part of our family. And I wish you all the best during that Thanksgiving holiday, if that's a holiday that you celebrate. And if there's something else you're doing next week that you enjoy that. Um, so I think I will wrap it up since it seems like the questions have kind of wound down. Thank you for the thank yous. I very much appreciate that. Again, if you have another email you want to add or you suddenly feel like you're not hearing from us, just reach out and we'll make sure you're still getting the messages. Wish everybody a great holiday and we will see you in December. Have a great night, everyone.